Maybe tell you a little bit about her. Some of you know this stuff, some of you may not, but I'll sort of do a quick bio of Alice. She was born March 1st, 1932, over in the Junction Triangle area of Toronto, the West End. Her parents were Christopher and Annie, and Christopher worked on the railroad. She was raised in, as I say, I think it was Symington Avenue, is that the right pronunciation? Yes?
201 Symington.
Okay, 201 Symington. She went to First Avenue Public School.
Lloydford 5308.
She was the third of four kids. That was the fourth right there that was just talking, Dave. Marion was her older sister, and Doug was her oldest brother, who's since passed away as well. And she went, as I said, to public school there. She went to Western Commerce, to high school. She was very athletic back in those days. In fact, I came across a picture of her. She was in the City Relay Championship in grade 8. So we had a picture of the team here holding the pennant that they won. She was very active in the church and became a lifelong interest in singing from the church there. And she, in fact, sang in the Perth Avenue United Church. Right? Yeah. And she sang there until after she got married, every weekend. In around, I'm not really sure of the year, but around 1945 maybe, she was attending a birthday party for a friend of hers, who was, I think it was a 13th or 14th birthday party. And at this party, this girl's brother was a good friend of Ed Farrell. And that's where Ed first met Alice, and thus began sort of lifelong romance that the two of them had. They got married in 1951, and 64 years of wedded bliss. So that was great. Around the same time when she first met Ed, maybe a year or so later, she started working her first job, part-time, I think, at a place called Grinnell. Is that Grinnell Fire Equipment or something? She worked in the office there. And was still going to school, and apparently was getting notes on her report card that she was way too tired at school. So she just stopped working. But she decided to stop school, and from then on worked pretty much the rest of her life. So she worked from there to move to NCR, where she was, I think, secretary to the head buyer at NCR. There's a couple of pictures of her we found in here. And she worked there. Then she worked at Sick Kids for a little while, until she became pregnant with Elizabeth, which was 1959.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Late in 59. Anyway. At that point, when they first married, Ed and Alice lived in a rented room out in the West End. Finally got their first house in St. Clair, Victoria Park area, Highvale, it was, and lived there till about 1964. So after Elizabeth and Chris was born as well, they moved then to Don Mills, to 88 Roanoke Road, which is where I first came across the Farrell family. In the meantime, Alice had gone back to work later on in the 1970s. She started working at, I think, Aikenhead's down in Lawrence as a secretary there. And then after a year or two there, she went over to the North York Board of Education and worked as the secretary at George S. Henry Secondary School. She was there for many, many years, became head secretary until her retirement in 1988. And at that point, they moved, Ed and Alice moved from Roanoke to Raymondville, right here, Hampton Green, and they've been here ever since. A couple of noteworthy things along the way. In the early 1970s, Alice got an inheritance from her mother and was determined to spend it on a cottage. So, without Ed's help at all, literally, it was Alice and Chris went up and toured cottages and went around and decided on a cottage on Canisius Lake, which they bought in about 1975, I think. And the cottage is still there today. And certainly Alice had many, many happy years up in Canisius every summer, for sure, even a few winters now and then, although not so much recently. And was very involved in water sports. boating. She almost ran into an airplane once. Towing Liz and Val, who's here as well. I think they were double skiing behind her. She's running into a path of an airplane landing. And then as she learned her lesson to always look straight ahead in the boat, and I guess there was another time she had one of her nephews, I guess, on the back. Didn't realize he'd fallen and drove for about 5 minutes without realizing he was in a drink somewhere back there. Anyways, Alice is a couple things that were always important to her. One was pets. She was a great lover of cats and dogs, and which is a good thing because Elizabeth, at least, and probably Chris to some degree, also were constantly bringing home cats and dogs that they found around the neighborhood. So they had a whole litany of pets over the years. In fact, I am told that in chasing a cat one day, she jumped off the front porch and went into labor with Elizabeth, who was delivered 3 weeks early as a result. So, thank you, the cat. The other thing that was kind of a funny story about her, she didn't drive for a long time until she was well into her 30s. And Elizabeth needed braces. So the only way to get her to the orthodontist was to drive her. The only way to drive her was for Alice to go and get her driver's license, which she did. And promptly got into the wrong car, apparently, when she went to do the driver's test, which the instructor was not too impressed with. But she passed anyway. Anyways, so pets was something she likes. Family was certainly something that she likes, and the amount of family here today speaks well to that. She loved talking to family, going to reunions, going to family events, going out west, where a number of relatives are out west, up to Manitoulin Island, where a number of people were and are. And just in England as well. She liked going over to the relatives in England as well. Both of her parents were born in England. Alice was somebody that I quite loved, and she certainly seemed to like me. I kept hearing you hear these mother-in-law stories, and you think, oh, that doesn't happen with me. Anyway, so I discovered anyway that Alice probably ultimately looked at me as a means to an end, at the end being grandchildren. So certainly one of the great delights of her life were the grandkids, Keith and Jeffrey, who spent summers at the cottage with her. She taught them to swim, she took them on the boats, she loved having grandkids around. And was an awesome babysitter, I might add. It made my life much easier with kids. Anyway, we're all going to miss her terribly.
Yep. And
I think a couple other people want to say some words, sort of segued into the grandchildren, because the grandkids would like to say a couple of things about Alice. So I could invite them down here if I could. Keith and Jeffrey were over there.